As I continue to play through Assassin's Creed Origins, I am reviewing all the Assassin's Creed games that I have played in the franchise. This does not include the handheld Liberation or Assassin's Creed Rogue because simply I haven't played them yet. But next on our list is Assassin's Creed 3, and so let's get to it. In the opening sequence, we see Team Assassin arriving at a cave in the countryside just outside of New York. This cave holds an underground temple, and the team was told by Jupiter to go there at the end of the previous game. However, the team finds the door to be locked and requiring a unique key to entry. Juno once again starts messing with Desmond, giving him visions, and once again he is rendered unconscious, and so the rest of the team decide to put him in the Animus because that will obviously fix him at this point. The Animus puts us in the shoes of Haytham Kenway during the 1700s. Haytham is just outside an opera house in London. After taking his seat, Haytham identifies his target sitting in a balcony and decides to make his way there unseen. He does this by manipulating the crowd and moving backstage while the play ensues. After making his way to his target, Haytham kills him from behind and relieves him of his circular amulet. Making his way out of the opera house, he meets with others of his order, and they suggest that the amulet is a key to a hidden temple they can only assume resides in the New World. It is decided that Haytham will sail to America. There is a little drama aboard the ship sailing for what would become the old Red, White, and Blue, but Haytham is able to stop a mutiny from ensuing, and this ensures his passage. Upon arriving in America, you are greeted by Charles Lee, who is hired to serve your every need. After a brief tour of Boston, Haytham reunites with the rest of his order, the members of which are Thomas Hickey, William Johnson, John Pitcomb, and Benjamin Church. Knowing that the precursor civilization exists, the order sets their eyes on the natives for information, so they decide to take out a slaving operation in the Boston area. After freeing the slaves, Haytham meets Zio. After a bit of a chase, she knows of the site that Haytham seeks, but will only help him if he kills General Braddock. So of course, Haytham does just that. And again, Haytham and Zio meet as she takes him to the precursor site, but the amulet reveals no entry. Haytham and Zio seem to have taken a liking to each other and get a little busy, but the mystery remains, how do we get in the precursor site? Haytham returns with all the information he has learned to the Order, where we find that Haytham wants to make Charles Lee's recruitment official into the Templar Order. Yeah, that was a great twist, getting to play as a Templar, by the way. The game has done a real good job at blurring the lines of morality and who is the good guy and who is the bad guy very early on. After the WTF moment, we wake up in present day and find that the temple needs power to run. This is indicated by an ancient battery that we found lying around in the cave that lets us know that we have to find more of these cells. They know of a cell nearby in New York, and they make their way there to a tall skyscraper in Manhattan to claim it, but they are met by Daniel Cross, who is an agent of Abstergo. After a scuffle with the agent, the team has the battery, and they retreat back into the cave and try to devise a way to locate the other batteries. Desmond goes back into the Animus in the meantime, and we aren't with Haytham Kenway this time around, and instead we are in the embodiment of an adolescent Native American several years after the previous visit. I'm not sure how to pronounce this young man's name, his actual given name, his tribal name, so we're just going to call him the name that is given to him later, Connor. Connor is living a pretty normal and peaceful life, spending his days hunting and playing hide-and-go-seek with his friends. One day, Connor wanders too far and is encountered by Charles Lee, who has a small little prejudice against the boy, and after a bit of child abuse and a little roughing by Charles Lee, Connor is able to escape and starts running back to his village, but upon arrival he finds it burning to the ground. He makes his way towards his mother, who he is unable to save as she is being crushed by one of the burning beams in their home. Connor blames Charles Lee for the destruction he has brought, because he is the first white man that Connor has seen travel towards the valley in all of his life. More years pass and we are now a young adult. The village elders reveal that their duty has always been to guard an ancient temple that is in their valley. After being given a transparent sphere that resembles one of the apples of Eden, Connor is given visions by Juno, and she tells him of his importance and shows him a symbol of the Assassin's Order. He decides to leave the village in search of the symbol, which leads him to the door of Achilles Davenport. Achilles reluctantly trains the boy to become an assassin and renames him Connor to take advantage of his half-breed lineage, allowing him to move somewhat freely through New England. Over the next few years, Connor aligns himself with patriots who have a vision of freedom from the oppressing British armies. Among Connor's allies are Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Adams, Paul Revere, and Israel Putnam. With the Revolutionary War as the backdrop, Connor is able to track down and kill members of the Templar Order. Among the set pieces is the Battle of Lexington, the Boston Tea Party, and the Battle at Chesapeake Bay. All the game is handled and presented very well and takes full advantage of the setting. Also, we grow the settlement via side quests, and the new welcoming ship battles are awesome, and they just provide a great wealth of resources. I, along with many others, wish that this was more of a main feature of this game. The new mode was just a huge surprise and was some of the best time spent, as it leaves an unforgettable resonance with the player. Eventually, we get that Darth Vader moment where Haytham tells Connor that he is his father, and a short alliance is formed as they track down some more Templars who have betrayed the Templar Order. Connor has a vision that perhaps one day there can be peace after all, but Haytham insists that it is a fool's errand. He tells Connor that it was actually George Washington that set out to eradicate the village because he didn't want the natives supporting the British loyalists. And then he tells Connor of an impending attack that is soon on its way. Connor rushes and returns to his village to see for himself, but upon arriving finds Charles Lee along with several allies of Mohawk Indians driving back the Patriots who were sent to wipe them out. Connor tries to stop the madness by neutralizing the conflict, and he tells everyone that he will reason with the Patriot leaders for peace, but his childhood friend Kenintokun, one of his childhood friends, cannot be reasoned with, and Connor is forced to kill him. Desmond is once again awakened from the Animus, and we are tracking down more battery cells. Our search takes us to Brazil, where once again Desmond runs into Daniel Cross. Desmond gets the battery we need, but William, Desmond's father, who has ran off to get the last remaining cell on his own, is captured by Abstergo, and now the team finds himself heading to an Abstergo facility where he is being kept. Desmond is able to infiltrate the facility and kill Warren Vidic, who is the Grand Master for the Templar Order that has been haunting us way back, since way back in the very first game. Also, Desmond is able to dispatch Danny Cross by killing him, and now they have all the cells they need to power up the temple, but they still need the key to get in. So with no more Templar threat, Desmond hops back into the Animus to get more answers. Once back in the Animus, we find Connor, who has become conflicted about eliminating the Templars. He hopes to work with Haytham towards a common vision of peace and freedom. However, Haytham remains convinced of the chaos of freedom and the necessity to control the nation by replacing Washington with Lee. Lee is disgraced by Washington for attempting to sabotage the outcome of the Battle of Monmouth and takes refuge in the heavily fortified Fort George. Connor infiltrates the fort and is confronted by Haytham. They duel and have a shouting match, and Connor eventually kills him in the end. Connor later kills Lee and recovers the key. With the Colonial Templars eliminated, Connor returns to his village only to find it empty and the sphere left behind. Using it, Juno instructs him to conceal the key where it cannot be found. Connor buries the key in the grave of Achilles' son Connor Davenport. Back in the modern day, 2012, Desmond retrieves the key and accesses the temple's inner chambers. Juno informs him that activating the pedestal will save the world but cost him his life. Minerva appears before him, opposing the plan, as it will free Juno and make her once again a living, breathing being who has sealed away in the temple to prevent her from conquering humanity. Juno and Minerva explain that if the solar flare occurs, Desmond will be one of the few survivors in a post-apocalyptic world. After Desmond's later death, he will become revered as a god, whose well-intended legacy will be manipulated to control future generations, restarting the cycle. Desmond chooses to sacrifice himself in order to save humanity and give them the opportunity to fight Juno rather than be destroyed. William, Sean, and Rebecca leave the temple as Desmond activates the pedestal. A global aurora protects the planet from the solar eruption, and Juno commends Desmond's choice and declares that it is time for her part to begin. Then we get an epilogue inside the Animus where Connor takes down the Templar portraits in Davenport's Manor's basement and burns them, signifying the end of his journey. In addition, his return to his village is detailed further, showing that he spoke to a hunter there who revealed that the land had been sold to settlers in order to settle the new United States government's war debts. Connor also travels to the pier in New York, where he witnesses the last British regulars leave America for good. However, he also sees evidence of the slave trade present in the newly formed nation right next to the pier of citizens cheering at the departure of the British, learning that not all the people have been freed. This game I thought was awesome. Connor can feel hollow yet determined at times to accomplish his visions of peace and freedom, but that's kind of what I like about him. The combat is at this point starting to show its age, but the package in its entirety is very uplifting and gravitating at the same time, and manages to pull off the narrative very well, with the exception of the ending, which feels like an abrupt end for Desmond's journey, an attempt to disenfranchise itself from the future setting in future titles. All in all, the game succeeds at most of what it sets out to accomplish, and I give the game a 9 out of 10. Did you play Assassin's Creed 3? What did you think of this entry in the franchise? And let me know in the comments down below. While you are down there, don't forget to hit the like button so the video can get a boosted chance of being shown to others. And if you're new around here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Remember that I'll have your face, and I will catch you on the flip side. And until then, guys, have a good one.